Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to another episode of the Minecraft Survival Let's Play. So I just wanted to quickly start off the episode by apologising for the delay between episodes. I did mention in the last one that I was going to be moving house and it was going to take a while for me to get everything set up. And of course it did take a while, and then I didn't have internet for a few weeks. So I still don't actually have my full setup here, so if my mic's a little bit weird, it's because it's a little bit further away than it usually would be. So throughout the episode I'm going to try and mess with the mic placement and the settings a little bit to try and get the best audio. So if it changes a few times, that's why. But anyway, I've not actually played much Minecraft at all over the last few months in between episodes. I've come on now and again just to do a little bit of strip mining or something like that, but I've not actually done any projects in that time. So the plan for today's episode is to build a project that I've wanted to do for quite a while now. It shouldn't be too difficult to do that one, and once I've finished that project the new update should be released, so I want to mess around with some of the new features from the 1.21 update. But anyway, to start off this episode I quickly just want to upgrade my armour. Well, it's not actually an upgrade, I just want to change it. So when the last update got released about a year ago now, I chose the silence armour trim and the redstone. So this is how my armour's looked for about a year, and I just thought it's time for a change, and now I'm coming back into Minecraft, I thought I might as well do it now. So I do like the redstone trim, I thought it was quite unique, you don't really see many other people using it, but I think it's just time to upgrade to the diamond. I was thinking about using gold, I think that looks cool as well. But the diamond should look better with my skin, as I've got like little bits of diamond in the skin. So I do like this, I think I preferred it to the redstone trim. I don't know if I'm going to keep it like this forever, I might decide to change to gold eventually. But I'm going to keep this for a while, even though I don't really use a chest plate at all, so it's going to look like this with the wings instead. Okay, so moving straight on to the project that I want to do today. I've come over here to near the golden sheep. There's a plains biome here. And what I'm going to be building, it's a little bit strange that I'm building this at this point in the world, but I want to build a passive mob farm. So of course these things are usually built quite early on in the world, but I've had this one for about 3 years now, I think a little bit longer. So it might be a little bit too late to be building something like this, but I do want to have a farm for every single item in the game. So it's mostly all of the different meats that I don't have a farm for yet. So that's why I'm going to be building the passive mob farm. And it's also quite a simple project, there's not too many materials that it needs. So I've got some wood, and then I've got plenty of glass, and plenty of dirt and some grass at the end. So this should be all of the stuff that it needs, so it's not a very complicated farm. So I think because I'm just getting back into Minecraft again, it's going to be quite an easy project to get started with. So I've come over here to a plains biome and I've come up by 70 blocks, and I thought that would be far enough away so that mobs didn't spawn on the ground, but I can still see a few spawning down there, so I might have to make this a little bit higher. And I do have my own design in mind that I'm going to try. I don't know if it's going to work or how good it's going to be, but I'm just going to attempt to build this. It shouldn't take too long, and I think I'm definitely going to have to make this platform a little bit higher, because I don't want any mobs spawning down there on the ground. So I'll probably go up another 20 or 30 blocks and then I'm going to get started and I'll do an update soon. I'm back for a progress update, and I actually went ahead and completely finished the farm. So here it is, the AFK spot is a few blocks below where I'm standing. I did actually try to design my own farm based on the hostile mob farm that I built about 3 years ago now. But that farm uses a few different levels, and I realised that if you build levels above, the mobs can only spawn on the top level because they need sky access to spawn. So I watched some YouTube videos and I found this one. And this one was by a guy called Mr. Beardstone on the Truly Bedrock server. So I'll leave a link to that video down below. But it's not actually a tutorial video, so if you do want to copy it, you just kind of have to watch what he does and then try to do the same. Which isn't too difficult, it is a pretty simple farm. The hardest part was getting all of the water to flow down into the middle, where there is a trident killer down below. So this is the AFK spot right here. And I actually came 30 blocks up from where I was in the last clip, so I'm 100 blocks above the ground on this AFK spot. But the mobs spawn on the grass, and then there's trapdoors on all the sides, so they just walk straight off into the water, then get pushed down into the water streams, and then the trident killer. And I'm having a little bit of a problem with horses and donkeys, you can see one right there. So originally they fell down into the trident killer and they just weren't taking any damage. So I put the magma blocks there and that helps a little bit, but there is still some that just don't take any damage, and then once another horse or a donkey comes down it kind of pushes it through the wall. So I need to kind of come up with a solution to that. I don't know why that's happening. So I've had this farm running for about 2 hours now, and this is all the loot that I managed to get. So as I mentioned, I don't actually need this stuff, I just wanted to have a farm for every single item. So it's not the most efficient farm. In 2 hours I only got this much. I'd expect a little bit more. Once I've sorted the problem out with the horses and donkeys, I'll be able to get a little bit more because they won't be taking up the spawn cap. So the farm is basically finished. It took me about 3 hours to build it in total. All I really need to do is build a storage room, and then I need to come up with a solution to make sure all of the horses are dying in the trident killer. But before I come up with a solution to that, I'm just going to quickly show something that I've been doing off camera over the last few weeks. So this is my raid farm that I built in, I think, episode 2 or 3. It was quite a long time ago now. And I have been using this over the years just now and again to get some emeralds. But I heard that in the 1.21 update, which is coming out soon, or it will be out by the time you're watching this video, that raid farms are no longer going to work. I know they're making some changes to villages, I'm not exactly sure what, but apparently raid farms aren't going to work anymore. So I've been staying AFK here a lot over the last few weeks, just to stock up on a bunch of emeralds. So I've got 2 double chests, and then almost half a chest here. So I just wanted to stock up on as many of these as I can, because if the raid farms aren't going to work anymore, it's going to be a bit more of a grind to get emeralds. So I don't really need them for trading too often, but I'm going to need some for trading. And then if I ever want to build something out of them, I'm just going to have plenty over here. So that's the reason why I just wanted to make sure I had plenty, just in case the raid farms do stop working. And then of course, using the farm so often, I've got loads of enchanted books from this. I don't actually know what to do with all of these. I'll probably look through them and keep the more useful ones, but there's some of these books I'm just never going to need. I'll probably just throw them away. And then I've also got more totems than I could ever even use. So every one of these shulker boxes is full of totems. I've had this world for about 3 years. I think I've used 1 totem before, and that's when I was fighting the Wither. So yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to need these, but I've just been collecting them. I didn't really want to throw them away. And then I've got loads of stuff in here as well. So yeah, I've just been using this over the last few weeks, just to get stocked up on emeralds. But I've got plenty of other stuff as well. It's a few days later now and the update has been released. And I just tested my raid farm again and it doesn't work. So I'm glad I did stock up on a bunch of emeralds before the update. So I want to go and look at a few of the new features, try some of the new blocks out. And I want to go to see what the trial chambers are all about. But first of all, I just wanted to come over here to my villages. I know there's a lot of changes happening to villages in the update, and I wasn't sure if my villages were going to be affected, but it doesn't look like they have been. So this was a mending book for 1 emerald, so it seems like my villages are still the same, which is good because I put a lot of time into this place. I got all of these villages with the right trades and pretty cheap prices. So it would have been kind of annoying if I had to redo this all again with the new villager mechanics. Okay, the first thing I decided to do with the new update was to go and collect all of the new wolf variants. To get these I needed to go to a bunch of different biomes around the world. And I also found some armadillos while I was out, so I decided to bring some of them back to the base as well. So I managed to get most of the dog variants, as you can see here. So this is 7 out of the 9 different variants. The 2 that I don't have is the default one, which has been in the game forever. So I think I do have a few of them tamed over there. I'll bring them over to the base at some point. And then the last one that I didn't manage to get was the one that spawns in the wooded badlands. Most of these dogs spawned in biomes which are pretty close by. A lot of them spawned about 1,000 blocks in that direction, which isn't so bad. But I have no idea where there's a wooded badlands on this map. I've explored quite a long way in most directions, and I've just never seen one of them before. So I'll try to get the last dog before the end of the episode, but I don't know where to get it from. And as I mentioned, I did bring some armadillos over to the base. I was actually experimenting with them a little bit. I wasn't sure how to get the armadillo shells or scoots. So I killed a few of them, and then I realised that they just drop them randomly every 5 minutes or so, kind of like a chicken drops an egg. And you can also use a brush on them to get the shells or the scoots. And I accidentally put some dog armour on this dog here. And I don't think you can get this off, or if you can, I don't know how, unless if I kill the dog it'll probably drop it. But yeah, this dog's got some armour on now. I didn't mean to put that on there. And as you saw, I've got a little setup here with a bunch of armadillos, and there's some hoppers underneath, and all of the scoots. Yeah, it is the scoots. They go down into the chest there. So I'm sure everyone already knows this stuff, but I'm just kind of learning it as I go. And one more thing that I messed around with here is some of the crafters. So these are going to be very useful for some projects that I have planned and some of my current projects that I already have. But I just don't really understand how they work, so I had to look up a YouTube tutorial. And I built this thing here. So I put sugarcane in this chest and then gunpowder in this chest. The sugarcane comes down here and gets turned into paper, and the gunpowder goes straight down. And then once I have it running, it just crafts a bunch of rockets. So yeah, I might build one of these in the base somewhere, and then it's just an easier way to craft a bunch of rockets when I need them. So that gets you up to date with what I've been doing over the last day or two since the update came out. But what I want to do next is the big thing of the update, which is the trial chambers. So I've seen little bits about these. I know there's a new mob called the Breeze, but I've not actually looked too much into them. So I guess first of all I need to go and find one, and then we'll see what they're all about. Okay, I've been looking around some caves for a little while, quite far away from the base, so these are some unexplored areas. And I don't know how rare the trial chambers are, but I managed to find one pretty quickly just over here. And of course, because this is an old world, the world generation is a little bit messed up. So it looks like it's kind of right in between the chunks, and some chunks are kind of missing. And then there's like part of it over there, part of it over there. I think I saw a little bit more over there somewhere. So the world generation is quite messed up, but this is the first trial chamber that I've managed to find. So I don't really know how to go about this. I don't know much about these at all. But I think for this first one, I'm just going to try and raid it and do what I can. Then I'm going to look at a video afterwards and see if I did it right or if I missed anything. So all I really know about these things is that there's a new mob called the Breeze, and they drop like a wind charge or something like that. And you can also get some trial chamber keys somehow, and then you can unlock some loot with those. So that's all I really know at the moment. So I'm just going to try and head in here, and then we'll see what I can find. I shouldn't be in any danger really because of the armour that I've got. So I think this is one of those things where you need a key to unlock the loot, and you can see the loot inside there. But as I was saying, I shouldn't be in any danger with the armour that I've got on. This is like the best armour in the game. I've also got a good sword. I've got some golden apples just in case. But I think these things are more for early game. I don't think I should be in any danger. So I found the first chest here, and that's the first trial key. And then honeycomb for some reason. That seems to be a strange thing to have in a chest. I think I'm actually going to break the chest just so I don't come back here. And there's a one right behind me as well, with more honeycomb, and then a wooden axe. I think that kind of backs up my point that these are for early game. That's just not going to be useful for most people. So I think all of the good loot is going to be in these things here. So I can put the trial key in there, and that's some of the wind charges, but the rest of the loot didn't look that great. So I don't really need honey. But yeah, these are the wind chargers. I'm not going to use them just yet. I'll try experiment with them a little bit later. And I don't actually know if these are like a one-time use or if I can wait a certain amount of time and use it again, because there's no loot inside it now. So maybe there's a cooldown, or maybe it's a one-time use kind of thing. There's a bunch of these pots around here, and I think some of the shards that I used to craft these are new. So if I break this, it should give me all of the shards, or the shards, and I think that is a new pattern that I don't have yet. So I'm going to be collecting all of those, and I actually got a new disc as well. I didn't actually know that was in the update, but apparently there's a new music disc. I've been looking around for a little bit and I found this area. I think there's a few mob spawners in here. So this first one is a skeleton one, which should be quite easy just to take care of these. I'm not sure how many rounds of like mobs you get before it finally drops the key. I think the key just comes out of the top of the spawner. And there we go, we got the key. So I didn't actually kill that many, I only killed like 5, maybe 6. And then I got one of these trial keys again. For some reason I've got 2 of them. I don't know where I got the other one from, but I've got 2 of them. And then there's some of these down here which I can put the keys inside of. So I'm hoping the loot is a little bit better this time. So the first one, we got one of those banner patterns, I think it is. So this is the Guster banner pattern. I think that must be a new item. I don't remember that being in the game before. So that's another one of the new items I've collected. And then I'll use the other key over here. And that was just a bunch of junk that time, mostly arrows and some honey bottles, and then another golden apple. Okay, I've been looking around a little bit, breaking some of the pots and looking in the chests and barrels. And I realised you can actually get these keys from inside some of the pots when they're broken. So that's probably how I got that other one before. And I think I found my first breeze spawner over here. So I don't really know how much damage these do. Oh, they teleport, I didn't know that either. So yeah, they die pretty easily, and they drop breeze rods. I don't know what you can do with these. So you can use them to craft the mace, but you need another block for that. I don't know what that other item is. And you can also use them to craft the wind chargers, which is quite useful. But I need to figure out what this other item is here, so I can craft one of these maces, because I want to test them later on in this episode. So I'm just going to kill the rest of these. I think the spawn is just over here. So I only killed 2 of them, and then I got a key. So that's a lot easier than I was expecting. I thought you would have to kill like at least 10 of them. So it seemed a bit easy to only kill 2 of them. But anyway, the loot from this over here, I got one of these ominous potions. So this just gives you 100 minutes by the looks of it of Bad Omen 2. I don't really know why you would need a potion for that, but that's in the game now. Okay, I think this is kind of interesting here. So I found a different one of these loot box things, and I've got a key. But the key just doesn't work inside this, and it does look a little bit different to the other ones that I've found. So the bottom of this is blue, on the others it was like the copper colour, like the browny orangey colour. So I don't know if this one is different and it requires a different key. And I definitely don't know how to get those keys if you can get them. I've done a little bit more exploring around here and I managed to find another key. So I unlocked this and I've got one of the new armour templates. So I think there was 3 new ones that got added in the new update. So this one is called Bolt. I don't think I'll be using this one at any point, but of course I do want to collect a full stack of every item in this series, so I am going to need all of the new armour trims. Okay, so I explored around the rest of the trial chamber. It took about 25 minutes or so, and I've come back here to the breeze spawner, and as you can see it's active again. So I'm going to kill the breeze that spawn here and then see what the reward is this time. So again, I only had to kill 2 and then I got the same key again. So I have a little bit of a theory of how this works. So I think every 20 minutes or so the spawner will become active again. And most of the time you're just going to get these normal trial keys which don't get the best of loot from the loot box things. I still need to learn the name of these, I don't know what they're called. So most of the time you're just going to get these keys which don't give very good loot, and then randomly it will give you a better key which can be used in the upgraded loot box things, and then they're going to give you some better loot. So that's just my theory of how this works. I could be completely wrong, but I'm just going to wait around here for another 20 minutes until this becomes active again. I'm going to keep killing all of them, and eventually I'm hoping I get a different key that is not this one. But we'll just have to wait and see. I've been here a while now waiting for the spawner to become active again, and each time it does it spawns in 2 breeze, and then once I've killed them I keep getting these regular keys, and then sometimes I get chicken or bread for some reason. So I decided just to look it up online instead. And I am kind of right, there is another key you can get to open these things here. But you don't just get them from the spawners normally, you have to drink one of these Bad Omen bottles first. Or you need to get the Bad Omen effect, and you can only get that through the bottles now. So that explains why my raid farm doesn't work anymore. And it also explains why I got one of these bottles. I can't actually remember where I got this from, but I got one of these bottles in the dungeon somewhere. So I think all I've got to do is drink this, and then when the spawner becomes active again, it will start a much more difficult trial. So I don't think it should be too difficult, but I've put my chest plate on just in case. So I should be fine with this armour. I've still got the golden apples and stuff. So I'm going to drink this, and then I'm going to see how difficult this is. I don't know if my game is bugged or something, but the video I watched said there would be 15 minutes of waves just coming one after another. But I only had one wave of 4 or 5 breeze. Once I killed all of them, I'm getting nothing else. The spawner also dropped some baked potatoes instead of a key, but I do still have the Bad Omen effect for a little while. So hopefully if another wave comes and I defeat that, I can get one of the upgraded keys. I decided to go and take on some of the other trial spawners while I still had the Bad Omen effect, and these were just way too easy. So I feel like this would be quite fun if you was at the start of a world and you didn't have the best gear and it was a bit of a challenge. But when you're late game and you've got the best stuff, these trials are just very easy. And once I completed 5 or 6 of the trials, I managed to get one of the premium keys. So these keys are called the Ominous Trial keys, and these are the ones that can be used on the different loot boxes. I don't really know what to call these, but I want to see what the loot is like in these ones compared to just the regular ones. So I'll put the key in, and there's an enchanted apple there which is pretty good. And then just some emeralds, which pretty worthless. You've seen how many I've got. But enchanted apples are always nice, even though they're not as rare anymore because of how easy it is to get them in the... They're common in the ancient cities. For some reason I forgot the name of it. But yeah, I kind of wish I got something new, like one of the new items and not an enchanted apple. But it's still not the worst loot ever. So I think that's enough exploring around the trial chambers for now. But before I go, I do want to collect a bunch of the blocks. So there's so much copper around here, I don't just want to leave it. I'm going to get as much of it as I can, and then that's going to set me up with copper for a long time. So I'm going to spend a few hours just clearing out as much of this as I possibly can. Back over at the base, this is all of the copper that I managed to get. There was so much more over there that I could have collected as well, but I decided to head back to the base. I am going to build a copper farm on this world eventually. I think I mentioned earlier that I want to build a farm for every single item. But I don't think I'm actually going to need a copper farm because of all of the copper that I'm going to get from the trial chambers. But I am still going to build a farm for it at some point. And these are some of the new items that I managed to get from the trial chamber. So I managed to get 3 of these records. These are all the same though, and I've done a little bit more research on the update now. And I think there's 3 different types of records that you can get. I also got some breeze rods and some wind chargers. I got 2 of the 3 pottery shards. There's 1 more that was added to the game. I got 1 of the 2 armor templates. And I think there might be 1 or 2 other things that I'm missing from the new items. And down here I collected some of the new tough blocks. I didn't bother collecting too many because I've got loads of tough on this world, so I can just craft them up later on. But I do like these. I think I'll be using these in my builds with deep slate and maybe some stone bricks. And I also like some of the new copper blocks. So I'm a big fan of the copper bulbs, especially the oxidized ones. So I think I'm going to be using quite a few of them in my builds as well. I didn't think I'd be coming straight back to another trial chamber, but I do want to try and collect all of the new items in today's video. And I did a little bit more research and I realised there's a lot of items that I still need to get from these trial chambers. And what I figured out as well is that the item that I need to craft the mace here is the heavy core, I think it's called. And these can only be found from these vaults. So these are like the premium vaults, I think they're called ominous vaults, so these are like the good ones. And it's quite rare to actually get these items. So I don't know the exact odds, I did look it up, I forgot it. But I think I'm going to have to search probably 15 vaults to get one, or on average it's 15. And of course these heavy core items do stack up to 64. So I feel like with every single update now there's an item that is really hard to get and I need to get a full stack of them. So it started off a while ago with the netherite blocks and then all of the other netherite items. And then there was the emerald ore, or the deep slate emerald ore. Then all of the pottery shards, those are pretty hard to get a full stack of. Now there's the heavy core as well. So this challenge of getting a full stack of every item just gets harder and harder with every single update. But I am still determined to do it, and that's why I'm over here at another trial chamber. So I've been kind of busy digging out some of the area. So here is a little bit of it, and I think there's 2 spawners in here. There's a slime one there, and then a couple there as well. And then I also dug out this space over here, there's a few more spawners. If I go this way, there's also a bunch more this way. So I don't know exactly, but I think there's 16 overall. I decided to make a copy of the world so I can switch it to spectator mode and give you a better view of what's going on here. So this is the room I was just in with the chests over here. Then you can see I've dug out this room with all the spawners. And for right now I'm actually keeping the vaults that I've used, and I've just put some red wool on top of these just to keep track of the ones I've used. And I want to see if any of these become active again, but I'm pretty sure they don't. So I'm going to remove these at some point if they don't become active again. So there's a few spawners in there. And then I've also dug out all of this over here with a few spawners. But there is a few more down here, so I still need to extend this out, dig a bit more around here. And this goes all of the way through to another little room. And then there's 2 spawners in here as well. So I need to dig all of this out as well. And then above this big room here, there's another room with 4 more spawners, I think, up there. So I want to dig all of this area out. I'm starting off just by doing 1 room at a time. But after that, I want to connect it all. So this is just going to be 1 big room. And then it actually goes this way as well. I think there's maybe another 6 or 7 spawners over here altogether. So I want to dig all of this out as well. And I think this is the last spawner right here. So I'll dig up to this and then dig like 10 more blocks in this direction. So I'm going to be digging from here all of the way over to this wall here. You can see where that ends. I'll probably extend that by a few more blocks as well. And then I'm going to dig all of the way over to this other spawner as well. So this is going to be a big room exposing all of these spawners. And once I've done that, I'm going to make a farm around each one of them. But building the farm should be very easy, it only takes a few minutes to do that. But there's a lot of digging to do here. And you might be wondering why I'm going through all of this effort to get some trial keys when I can only use these vaults once. And it's just so I can stock up on them, and then in the future when I find some more of the trial chambers, I can just go in my ender chest and I'll have the keys in there. And then I can use them and hopefully get a bunch of heavy cores over time. So it means in future if I go to a trial chamber, I don't actually have to mess around trying to get ominous keys to open the vaults. I'll just have them already. So it's going to save me a lot of time in the long run. But anyway, there's still a lot of digging to do. I've got my pickaxes here and I'm just going to get straight back to it. So some of you might be wondering why this video is getting released so long after the 1.21 update got released. And this is why. So like I said, I took all of this area out, I exposed all of the spawners. This thing just took me so much longer than I was expecting it to take. I thought I could probably get it all done in a week, but it ended up taking me over 3 weeks, I think, in the end. So yeah, that's the reason that this video is going to get uploaded quite a while after the 1.21 update came out. It just took so long to dig all of this area out by hand. And I do actually do this by hand. I don't use TNT dupers, I don't agree with them. So I went through all of my netherite pickaxes here, I mended them all back up, and then I went through them all again. I actually managed to break one of them, I just wasn't paying attention to the durability. And then I also moved over to my fortune pickaxes, and I use most of these as well. So I really do dig out these areas by hand. I've done quite a few of these on the world now. I don't bother with the TNT. I do find it quite satisfying to dig out these areas like this, but I always kind of underestimate how long it's going to take. But one positive to digging this all out by hand instead of using TNT is that I managed to keep all of the diamonds. So I got 6 stacks and 22 diamond ore, or the deep slate diamond ore, and then only 2 of the regular diamond ore. It's quite rare these days. And I also got over a stack of deep slate coal. Some people seem to think this is rare, but if you do any kind of digging projects at this height here where the stone meets a deep slate, you find quite a few veins of these, so I wouldn't say it's overly rare, unlike some blocks like the diamond ore and the deep slate emerald. But anyway, you're probably wondering what these things are here. I did actually record some clips of me building these before I finished digging out all of the hole, but they don't quite work as well as I thought they did. So if I come and show you over on this one here, you can see that all of the mobs will spawn on the magma blocks, and then they will just die to the magma blocks over like 20 seconds or whatever. And then once the trial is over, the key will pop up on top of the spawner, or whatever item pops up out of the spawner, and it will instantly get sucked up by a hopper minecart which is underneath the spawner. And then I've got a row of hoppers coming down into the chest. So it's a very simple design, and I thought this is what I was going to do for all of the different spawners. But I ran into a few little issues. So sometimes the mobs will somehow glitch out of the glass. I think if a few mobs spawn right on the edge, they will just kind of push one of the mobs out of the glass. I also had some issues with the mobs spawning inside the magma block, so they weren't taking damage. And then I had another issue which I can't remember at the moment. But I've decided that these farms just aren't going to work. So I've come up with a different plan instead. It's kind of similar but different at the same time. So I am going to remove all of these and then start fresh with these ones. And then I've still got a bunch more spawners which I've not even started on yet. If I go to this chest here, you'll see that all of these items are items that have been sucked up by the hopper minecart and brought down into the chest. So I did a few of the ominous trials, and I managed to get quite a few keys overall. And I did open a bunch of the ominous vaults which were around here, but that was in the footage when I was building these, and I kind of deleted the footage by accident. But I didn't really get anything too exciting. I got some of the armor trims and then this record disc here, and a couple of enchanted apples. All I really want from these now is the mace, or I think it's the heavy core which you use to make the mace. So that's all I'm really looking for from these ominous trial things at the moment. And I do actually have a few more keys, and there's a couple of vaults that I haven't opened yet. So I'll open this first one here. I got a record disc again. I'm not sure if I've got this one. I think that's a new one, I'm not actually sure. And from this one I got an enchanted apple, and I think this is one of the new enchanted books. So Windburst 1. I think that's for the mace. I don't actually know what it does. So I think this is 2 new items that I don't have yet. I did want to try and get every single new item from the update in this video, but I'm just not going to have time to do that. I want to try and get this video uploaded within a few days, and I've still got a lot to do on this project here. There's no way that I'm going to get this project finished in this episode, but I'm going to try and get it at least functional, and then I'll come back to it another time. So I'm going to show you what I've been doing with these spawners, and then I'm going to do it to the rest of them and remove all of the mess. So to start off with, what I need to do is connect some hoppers going from all of these spawners down to the floor. So I'm going to have some droppers here later on, and these are going to shoot the items into water streams. But for right now that will do. And then I can remove this block here. place a rail on there and then a minecart hopper on top of the rail, like that. And once that's on there, I can place the trapdoors down the side like this. So these are just the regular trapdoors, but over time, while I'm building the rest of this project, they're going to turn into the oxidized ones. So this is going to keep the minecart in place, and then it's also just going to hide the hoppers a little bit so they're not as ugly. I think the hoppers have a bit of a hitbox as well where things could get trapped on there. So I think it's just best to have some trapdoors going all the way down. And once I've done that, I can get on top of the spawner. And I'm going to put a copper bulb on here just for a little bit of light. I think I need to activate this with a redstone block. So now it's actually providing the light. I can put trapdoors around this as well. And I think I'm just going to keep this copper bulb like the regular colour because this is the brightest. And I think as it oxidizes more, it becomes like less bright. So I'm just going to keep the regular bulb there. That will be waxed as well. And then I'm going to put a slab on top. So I think this should stop anything from spawning on top of the spawner. Everything's going to spawn around the outside and then drop down onto the floor. So that's basically all I'm going to do for all of these spawners now. I did count them and there's 18 in total. I thought there was 16, but there's 18. So I'm going to do this for all of the other spawners. It's going to get quite expensive with the taller ones because I need hoppers going all the way down to the floor. But I'm going to do this for the rest of them, and then I'm going to remove what I've built around some of these over here. So that's all of them done now. These are all the same apart from the different heights, of course, apart from this one here. So there's a mob spawner right there, and then there's also one right there. Because it's only one block to the side, I kind of connected the hoppers down into the hoppers on the one on the left. And then you might be able to see the stalactite there. So I was thinking that some of the mobs are going to spawn here and then fall straight onto this. And if this wasn't here, I don't think they would die. I'm hoping this does kill them so they don't just stand around up here. Yeah, that was just a little solution to that. If it doesn't work, I can always just remove one of these spawners. So the farm is looking kind of strange at the moment, but I'm just going to keep building it up and then you'll see how it's going to work. So I think the next thing I need to work on is the water streams. Okay, that's all of the water streams in place now. So this is all pretty simple, it's stuff I've done before. So all of the items get put into the dropper here, and then there's, I think this is a dropper clock. So any items that are inside of the dropper will just get shot out instantly. And all of the streams end up down here, go under here, and for now they're just going into this chest. I'll probably make a storage room here, but I'm not going to get to that in today's episode. And now I've gone ahead and I've added the floor one block above where the water streams are. I actually added the glass above the water streams. There's not really any reason for this, and there's no reason that I use the deep slate bricks here. I think I'm going to cover all of this up with carpet to stop any slimes from spawning. While I was digging this out and I was building it, there was slimes everywhere, but now I can't seem to see any. Oh, there's one there. Yeah, this was like covered in slimes earlier on. Okay, so moving on to the next step of the farm here. I'm going to add some magma blocks in the floor around each of the different spikes or whatever you'd call these. So I am going to use magma blocks again to kill the mobs, but this time the mobs are going to fall all of the way down. So most of them are going to die from fall damage, and then if they don't die, there's going to be magma blocks here to finish them off. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this, especially in areas like this where there's a few of these close together, but I'm sure I can figure something out. This is what I came up with. I had to connect some of these areas together just to make it work. So I've got two spawners over there that are on their own, and then I've got 3 areas over here where all of the spawners are clumped together. So what I tried to do is count 4 blocks away in each direction from the spawner. So it was pretty easy over here with these 2. But then of course when there's a load of them together like this, it was a little bit more difficult. But I managed to make it all work in the end. So the last thing I want to do on this farm today is add some glass around the outside of these. So I've got some copper here, and this is where the glass is going to start. And I'm just going to go upwards above the spawners by a few blocks. I was going to use some green glass, I brought that over, I used it on the previous design, but I've changed my mind now and I want to use some black glass instead. mostly just because I've got loads of ink sacs over at the base. It's going to be pretty dark in here, and I just think that the black glass is going to look a little bit better. And that's all of the glass in place now as well. So the farm is now fully functional. All I really need to do is decorate the walls and the roof, put some carpet on the floor and make a storage room, but I'm not going to get time to do that in this episode. So how these farms work is pretty simple. I just stand nearby. I've made these platforms here. The spawners become active, all of the mobs fall down and then die, or they die to the magma blocks. And then once the key or whatever item gets dropped by the spawner, it gets sucked up and taken to the storage. And then of course if I drink these ominous potions, I start the ominous trials and then I can get the ominous keys. These farms are not perfect. It's my own design. I've just come up with this as I've been building it. It does work. I've been using it for the last few hours while I've been editing the rest of this video. And I'm actually going to head down and show you the keys that I've managed to get. So I've managed to get a full stack of ominous keys and then another 6 here. I'm getting loads of potions that I don't really want, and then bits of food which I don't really need either. And it's not a perfect farm at all. There is some issues, like some of these mobs that spawn up here fall down and don't die on that stalactite. That's another one of the issues here. I can still get hurt by the arrows and then the fire charges and potions that drop on my head. So I kind of have to keep moving while I'm using this farm. But it's much easier using it than it is to just go around and get all of these keys manually. And I was having another issue with this slime spawner here where occasionally the little slimes will glitch into this hopper right here. And it actually happened right here. You can see the slime has glitched into that hopper. So that slime just kind of stays there, and I either need to leave the chunks or kill the slime. So yeah, there is a few issues. It's not exactly the perfect farm. I'm sure other people have already built better key farms at this point. But it's my own design. I just came up with it. I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And it does work, so I'm not too bothered if there's a few flaws. But anyway, before I leave this project for today, I just want to test something out. So I heard that once you get the bad omen effect, it just resets the spawners. So I've got the bad omen effect at the moment, and then I want to drink some milk. And then if I drink another potion to get the bad omen effect, I was wondering if it would reset the spawners, but it doesn't look like it has. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to test, because if that worked it would be a lot faster to farm these keys. Back over at the base, this is an update on all of the new items that I've managed to get in today's episode. And then of course I've got all this copper as well. I left loads of copper over at the key farm. I'll go get that later on. But I think there's like 6 or 7 shulker boxes full of it over there. But this is more important here. I got all of these new items. There's still quite a few missing as well. So of course there's the heavy core and the mace. But I'm also missing a few more enchantments. And then there's a bunch of tough blocks which I can craft up as well. There might be something else I'm forgetting. But yeah, I didn't manage to get every single item in today's episode like I wanted to do. But I will come back to this in, I think, 2 episodes time, and hopefully I can get all of the rest of the items there. I also didn't manage to get all of the dog variants. I said I was going to go and try to find the one that I don't have yet, but I just don't know where there's a wooded badlands. It could take me hours to find one of them, so I'm going to have to come back another time and get the other dog as well. Just quickly, for anyone wondering how I got all of the omen bottles, I realised that if I come over here to my raid farm and turn the trident killer on, you just saw one there, the pillagers with the banners will spawn in there, and this is how the farm used to work. So I just put a hopper minecart underneath here to collect all of the items, and the pillagers with the banners now will drop the banner and some bottles of omen or ominous bottles. So this is how I managed to get so many of those. It has been a while since the last episode, and I did almost forget. But I started a streak where I tried to add some new items, or at least one new item, to the checklist in every single episode. So in today's episode I'm going to go to the food chest, and I've got 6 items here to add. So it was actually 5 or 6 weeks ago now that I built that passive mob farm that I built at the start of this episode. So it feels like it was forever ago, but it was actually in this episode. So I'm going to add a few items that I got from that farm into the checklist. And finally, before I end this episode, there was a few ominous vaults in this trial chamber that I looted earlier in the episode that I didn't open. So I've come back over here, I'm going to open them and then I will finish this episode. So the first one here, I got the armor trim that I've already got and a diamond block. We'll open the next one here, another enchanted apple and a few more diamonds. There's another one here and I think this might be the last one of the episode, and I managed to get it with the first item there. So this is the heavy core. It's actually tiny in the inventory, I didn't realise that. I kind of wish I got it earlier so I had time to mess around with the mace, but I don't have time to do that in the episode. I'm going to end the episode here, and again I'm sorry for the delay between episodes. I moved house, it took a long time, and then this episode took me ages to record, but I hope everyone enjoyed. I'll try to get the next video out within the next few weeks, and I will see you all next time.